Hi, my name's Danny Campbell. I'm here today to show you the art of wrapping hands. I had 150 amateur fights, losing only 12. 15 pro fights, losing only 1. I never was a world-ranked fighter, but I did have the opportunity to work out with lots of world champions and world-ranked fighters. Throughout my journey, I was able to live with trainers and other people in the boxing industry where I learned my trade. Today, I'm here to show you the art of hand wrapping. Title carries equipment for all your training needs, including platinum hand wraps, classic weave hand wraps, Mexican style hand wraps, and junior sizes. We carry adhesive tape and gauze, along with your knuckle guards and your trainer's scissors. Call us or check us out on the website at www.titleboxing.com. We're going to begin today with the wrapping of a hand during our workout. Throughout my journey in the boxing circles, I realized that lots of trainers did not know how to wrap hands. So I'm going to teach you today how to wrap hands. What I like to prefer to use is a Mexican style elastic hand wrap. It gives you a little bit of stretch. At the same time, it keeps your hands secure. The hand wrap is designed to keep your bones, your small bones in your hand from breaking, from jamming knuckles or wrist injuries. So when you have your trainer wrap your hands, or if you are a trainer, you want to make sure you wrap your fighter's hands. This gives you the opportunity to psych your fighter up for a good hard workout, and during a fight, helps you see into his mind and make sure that he is focused on what you want him to be thinking about. We're going to begin with a workout hand wrap. We start with the thumb, the loop of the thumb, and we go across the back of the wrist. It's very important. I like to wrap my fighter's hands up high up on the wrist. It's very important that you wrap this wrist very secure. You wrap it and you work your way down towards the wrist to about 3 wraps. When you get around, you want a good solid wrap so that when you throw a punch, your wrist doesn't break and you don't have any wrist injuries. The idea is to come across the top of the hand, down under the palm, right below the knuckles, and right across the front of the hand. What this does is it protects the knuckles, plus it keeps you from getting skin marks on your knuckles in between workouts, which would damage your workouts and cause injury. Give yourself a couple wraps around the front of the knuckles, and it's very important as you come across the top of the hand. I like to give several wraps across the back of the hand. This is what the hand wrap is really designed to do, to protect you from breaking small bones right here in your hand. If you do a couple, what I call the X factor, across the top of your hand, come back across the front of the knuckles and over the top. After here, you want to come, and it's very important that you protect this joint of the thumb. If you break your thumb, you're typically going to break it right here in the joint, or this bone that goes right into your thumb. So come across the top of your thumb, 1 wrap. A good snug. Always make sure that your fighter has his fingers spread. It feels good. Every once in a while, ask him to make a fist. See how it feels. Feel good? Come across the top. Once again, around the top of the knuckles. And when you get to this point, you want to do 1 other wrap from the inside on the thumb. Complete wrap and over the top. Always making sure that your wrap is level or smoothed out, no wrinkles. After you get to this point, it's very important that you continue to wrap the front of the hand, the top of the hand, and your knuckles. More importantly, the top back here, because here's where you'll have damage if you hurt your hand. There's nothing worse than let your hand get injured, because then your career is over with, or you can't do any kind of workouts at all if you cannot strike the bags. As I finish out here with this, now I might put a little bit extra padding on the knuckles here just to protect it from skinning up. As I finish off my wrap, I want to finish it high on the wrist, and with Title's new stretch Mexican style hand wrap, you can Velcro it right there at the end. As you turn the palm over, it gives the fighter something there to squeeze the hand. As you know, when you make a fist as a boxer, don't squeeze your hand tight. Leave it loose. Just make it in the form of a fist so that you can punch that part of your hand. Now what I do, if I'm working out and using bag gloves, I take tape. I put this tape in between my fingers. The purpose of this is to hold down this hand wrap so when you put your glove in, this does not peel back and leave skin marks on your knuckles. Squeeze it in the middle like that to give yourself a good tie down of that wrap. Once again, I'm going to ask my boxer to squeeze his hand. Does it feel good? Roll it over. Take this tape, tuck it in there. Now, since this is just a workout, I don't want to get into using a lot of adhesive tape because it gets expensive. But I do want to use just enough to give my Velcro a wrap. And then one time come across with the X Factor around the knuckles like this, and then come right down over the top of my knuckles and break that off. That is a good hand wrap. You have the support on the back of the hands, you have the tape holding down the knuckles, and you're supporting the wrist. Turn it over, have your fighter squeeze it, make sure you can close his hand. Now that is a good hand wrap. For all my boxers, I recommend the knuckle guard. Title makes a platinum knuckle guard that protects their hand from damage and injury. The way you apply the knuckle guard is you start off with a hand wrap. Remember, as a boxer, your hands are your most important asset. You don't want to damage them, so take all precautions to get you a knuckle guard right out of the gate. Don't wait till you have damaged hands before you get one. If you have hurt your hands in the past, I highly recommend them. They'll take a lot of the jolt off of your hand. Give yourself a couple of wraps before you apply the knuckle guard. It slides right in between the fingers of the boxer's hand, all the way to the front of the knuckles. Sometimes you'll have your boxer, this is a brand new one, it's not really broken in. However, you wrap over the top and then proceed on as if you're wrapping a hand. This gives a boxer a lot more hand protection, and especially before a big fight, you don't want to take a chance on getting your hand hit on top of a head or you striking somebody's head and damaging your hand. Remember, the whole idea of the hand wrap is to protect these small bones that are in your hand. When you wrap your hand with the knuckle guard, you'll feel a lot more protected, and it'll give you a lot better grip. As we finish off our hand wrap, as you can see, there's protection all the way back to the wrist with this knuckle guard. They don't allow these in competition, but as a boxer, your hands are your most important asset. Do everything you can to protect them. I highly recommend when you buy your first set of hand wraps that you purchase a knuckle guard to go with it. We're going to begin with the competition style hand wrap for amateur boxing. I begin with, from Title, you can buy gauze for competition. It's usually 1 inch thick, and as you start your application of your hand wrap, do it as if you're using it for the workout. I start high on the wrist, about halfway, not quite halfway, but a third of the way up the arm. And I start my general wrap just to get a good grip on the arm. Then I'll work my way down. Now with gauze, you have to be careful because you can stretch that too tight and cut off the circulation to your boxer's hands, therefore making his arms tired throughout the fight. So throughout the process, I'll ask my boxer how it feels to him. Come back over the knuckles. I'm just laying my outline, and as you can see how tight that is, I might loosen that up a little bit. Usually with gauze, if you get it too tight, it's going to be right in here on the side of the hand. How does that feel? Good? Once again, I'm going to go across the back with the X Factor, over the top of the knuckles, and back across the top of the hand. I'm going to make one light loop around the thumb, underneath the wrist, over the top, come back around the palm, underneath the knuckles. And from this point, I'm going to come up under the thumb with one more wrap. From here, I'm going to proceed to finish off the wrapping, focusing on protecting the back of the hand. Once again, I told you during the workouts, here's where you'll generally break your hand if you're going to break it. The little bones that make up the top of your hand. If right here, I don't think there's enough around this joint to protect it, I'll do one more light wrap and finish this wrap off. As you can see, these wraps are longer than your workout wraps. Gives you lots of support. Have your fighter squeeze his hand. Does that feel good?
Yes.
Make sure that you're not cutting off the circulation. Keep it squeezed, keep it in fist form so they can come over, open, squeeze, and continue to finish with the wrap. I like to get plenty on the wrist. Remember, when you're wrapping hands, you're not wrapping your hands as a weapon. You're wrapping your hands to protect them from injury. With the way Title makes their equipment today, you don't have to really worry if you go through the proper procedure of hand injuries. Finish out on the wrist. In amateur boxing, there's a limit to how much adhesive tape you can use. You can use one wrap around the top of the wrist, completely around the hand, like that. And then you need to take you a couple strips. In amateur boxing, they will not let you put any tape on the palm of the hand. So take you a couple strips that are about 4 inches long. Now with this tape here, we're once again going to make the X factor on the back of the hand to protect those bones. Then, since you can't go around the hand, you will take off one more strip about 3 to 4 inches long, and you will wrap it right over the top of the knuckles and stop it right there at the sides. It's always good before you wrap a hand to ask the boxing commission what is allowable. This hand right here is a good competition hand wrap for your amateur boxing. Now we are going to look at a professional hand wrap. I always take my fighter and massage his hand a little bit, make sure the blood is flowing into his hand. This is a great time for a trainer and his boxer to look each other in the eye, get a read on your boxer, what's on his mind mentally. It's the most important part of the fight before the fight. It gives me an opportunity to talk to the boxer and really know what's on his mind, to see how tense he is, if I need to tighten him up a little bit or if I need to relax him a little bit. I started off by preparing these patches of gauze that I am going to use for the knuckle. I did that by just unraveling a hand wrap and slowly going back, make myself a little patch. I use an entire roll of gauze as such. After you do that, you'll end up with a result like this. Take it, flatten it out. It's always good as a trainer to do this in your hotel room or before you get to the arena so that you have those pre-prepared. I take my fighter, I massage his hand to get the blood flowing. I'm talking to my fighter and I'm looking in his eyes. I'm getting a feel for how he feels about this fight. I'm going to start with a hand wrap. I'm once again using my gauze that I purchased from Title Boxing. 1 inch width, and I'm going to start 1/3 of the way up the arm. Ask the fighter how he feels. I like to get plenty of wrist support on that wrist. I come down as I wrap around the wrist. I do it very secure, and I continue to keep tension. I continue to ask my fighter how it feels so that I don't get it too tight. How does that feel?
Good.
Good. I come across the top of his hand and I wrap that thumb. I come back and I concentrate mainly on the knuckle area as such, and the X factor on the back of the hand. As we talked about in other wrapping experiences, on this side of the hand is usually where you'll get it too tight by pulling it too tight. Continue to stop. Ask your fighter how it feels. Have him make a fist. Feel okay?
Feels good.
And continue to wrap. At this point, I've used about half my roll of gauze. I take my pre-prepared gauze. I put it on the knuckle. This is to give him better knuckle protection. The last thing I want to happen is my fighter to jam a knuckle, break a hand during the course of the action. It makes him a one-handed fighter and gives his opposition too much advantage. I lay it on there and I come around and use the gauze to wrap it onto the knuckles. This gives him further added protection of the hand. When you're wrapping for professional, you're allowed to use one roll of gauze in most states. I do highly recommend that you talk to the Athletic Commission in the state you're boxing before you start the hand wrapping process and ask him if there's any guidelines that you need to follow. He will remind you and instruct you on how to wrap the hand. You'll generally have a boxing commissioner watching you wrap to make sure that you don't break any of the guidelines. As I finish off with this one roll of gauze, I once again stop, ask my fighter how he feels. At the same time, I'm getting a feel for his mental frame of mind. Gives us an opportunity to go over the last game plan that we had planned before the fight time. This usually takes place about 45 minutes before the fight. You don't want to wrap the hands too soon because the sweat from the fighter will make the hands heavy, and also you want the hand wrap to stay good and tight. You don't want it to work itself loose. As I'm finishing off here, since this is the gauze part of the hand wrap, I'm going to finish off up high, use all the wrap. And now, I have my hand wrapped like that. I want to use, since the boxing gloves are so tight and the hand fits so tight into the glove, I want to make sure that when he slides his hand in the glove that this doesn't pull back and leaves his knuckles exposed. So I have stripped off some tape that I use for in between the fingers. I start it back here. I squeeze it tight in between and hold that gauze down. Very important. Several factors. You don't want your fighter to get a broken knuckle, and you don't want to get in any trouble for hitting a guy with bare knuckles and doing damage to your opponent, unnecessary damage. After I have that there, I take my roll of adhesive tape, and just as I started my hand wrap, I start up here on the wrist. Unlike amateur boxing, you're allowed to go completely around the palm of the hand, completely around the hand. In fact, I do it just like I did the hand wrap. Come up under the knuckles, over the top. It's very important here that I don't go down on top of the knuckles. I stay in back of the hand on top of the knuckles like that. Your boxing commission will tell you what is allowable in their state. Once again, I put the X factor to hold the bones in place. And depending on the fighter, I'll come around with a loose wrap around the thumb. Completely around over to the top. Now, in some fighters that I have, they're tremendous punchers most of the time. Just for precautionary measures, I'll take my tape and I'll give him some extra padding on the back of his hand. As I said before, I don't want my fighter to come back in between rounds and tell me he's broke his hand or he's got hand damage. That's going to give the opponent too much of an advantage. To finish off, I once again give a wrap focused on the crisscross over the knuckles, but not down on top of the knuckles. And I finish off at the top. Make a fist. Remember, if you're making a fist, you don't have to squeeze hard. You're going to be hitting that top part of your hand. I just want to mash it down. Now that is a professional hand wrap. One thing you know, you did a good hand wrap. When you pull the glove off, your hand still looks as if when you wrapped it. The gauze was not pulled back. It's still very tight, compact. What you need when you buy your hand wrap and your gauze from Title, make sure you purchase a set of scissors, a pair of scissors that is flat on the bottom to protect your fighter from any kind of cuts, and you cut off this tape. This hand wrap would be impossible to unwrap. It has formed to his hand, and the sweat that the perspiration that's got down inside the glove has made it almost impossible to unwrap. With these scissors, you can easily cut the hand wrap. In this segment, we just learned how to wrap your hands. Remember, your hands are your most important asset as a boxer. Take your time to learn how to wrap your hands properly and do it often, because if you take care of your hands, they'll take care of you.
Title Boxing's got you covered with 16 action-packed videos to get you in the best condition of your life. Boxing and conditioning experts Danny Campbell, Michael Rutherford, Jeff Finnick, and Russ Anber put you through the paces to show you everything you need to know to improve your speed, strength, agility, and stamina. How to wrap hands, hitting the heavy bat, medicine ball, obtaining the edge of speed, interval training, punching at angles, advanced techniques, explosive speed and power, mastering the basics, punch-net secrets, getting bigger and stronger, dynamic speed and thrust, counter-punching, working the corner, defensive skills and drills, body punching, and more. Get only the ones you want, or get maximum impact with the entire series. Get the secrets of over 80 years of combined boxing and physical training experience in one action-packed video series. Where do you get it? Exclusively at TitleBoxing.com. TitleBoxing.com. If we don't have it, you don't need it.